This video isn't about Walmart or about Blinky necessarily. This video is for Office of Professional Standards here at the San Angelo Police Department. There are policies and procedures which definitely need changed. The Office of Professional Standards has 2 members in it. That would be Detective Rodney Black, which is the supervisor for the division. He's been in there for years. And then they have 1 sergeant in there. And they alternate that sergeant out every 12 months. But I'm mainly going to focus on Detective Rodney Black because he's the real piece of trash in this video. And before I start the clips, I want to say all law enforcement that work the internal investigations, if you do your job like Detective Black does his, you are the wedge between law enforcement and the public.
That's what I believed when I got there.
What I'm trying to say or ask is, so you think he's being detained, right?
Mm-hmm.
And not identifying himself.
That's right.
So, what was your understanding of the law at that point in time as far as being detained and not identifying himself?
So, well, I thought we had a PI at that point in time, and that was an arrestable offense, and that he wasn't IDing himself. I didn't ask questions. I probably should have.
Assuming this guy's being detained.
Yeah,
and not identifying himself.
Right. I thought we had an arrestable offense for public intoxication at police.
Okay.
At that point in time.
But did y'all arrest him for failed ID or PI?
So, well, I thought it would have been arrested for, we wouldn't have gone any further in my mind if he wasn't PI.
I think everybody's being a little hard on this dude. He admits what he did wrong by jumping to conclusions. And in this interview, he's being honest, or trying to be, but Detective Black ain't getting the answer he wants, so he keeps asking him. And to be completely fair, he did come up to me after at the thing at Walmart and apologize to me and give me his name and badge number without asking.
So what was at that point in time, what was your understanding of the failure to ID law?
So I am familiar with the failure to ID. Inherently, we can't arrest somebody for failure to ID unless we have an arrestable offense, and they should be placed under arrest for that, and then the failure to ID would come into play. So,
okay, at that point in time, did you think you could arrest somebody who's being detained for failing to ID?
No, that would not be the right thing to do.
So by you saying that, you're making me believe that you thought if somebody was being detained, they had to identify themselves.
Identify for that. Yeah. I don't disagree with you.
Okay.
So
I'm just trying to get y'all's state of mind on. So he's being detained, and he wouldn't identify.
Right.
So you and Officer Francis decide we're going to arrest him for that.
For that, yeah.
For failure to ID.
For failure to ID, yes. But
okay.
Inherently, I thought we had the public intoxication arrest,
which
even
you learned that y'all did not.
Yeah, afterwards. Yeah.
And Detective Black continues to try to force him to give the answer that he wants. And you'll see him get frustrated when he doesn't get it.
So I understand it right. Your interpretation of failure to ID at that point in time was you could arrest somebody who was being detained and refusing to identify.
No!
So,
if we had an arrestable offense, is the way I understood it. So I believed we had an arrestable offense. He should have been arrested for PI, and then the failure to ID.
Okay. What did y'all arrest him for?
We arrested him for failure to ID. But I thought if we had the original offense, which he was being detained for, that was a good arrest.
I'm still trying to be clear on so when you get in there, you think he's PI
I think he's PI.
and not identifying. So, but he's not, he hasn't been arrested yet, right?
He wasn't in handcuffs, no.
So he hadn't been arrested, so he may be PI.
That was my belief.
He may be PI, but he had not been arrested
For PI, that is
for
correct.
PI.
Yeah.
So since he had not been arrested for PI, you can't arrest him for failed ID.
That is correct. Yes,
And you
I
understand
understand that. Yes,
Okay.
I understand that.
All right.
Although I never would have gone with a failure to ID arrest if I had thought the guy was sober. You know, if we didn't have an initial charge.
But you understand that he needs to be arrested
Yes, yes.
and then ask for his
yes,
information, and he won't
yes.
to make that arrest.
Yes, I
All right.
understand that.
All right.
Like I said, the main purpose of this is not to get people suspended or fired or anything. The main purpose is to provide a better, higher quality of service to our public.
That was Sergeant Travis Griffin that you just heard. He's off to the side, hiding out of camera view with Detective Black. I wonder why they had two of them doing this interview, keeping both of them out of camera view.
Do you feel like the force you used was justified based on his resistance?
At the time, yes. Now, no.
You don't think so?
No.
Why? Yeah, explain that a little bit. Why would I know?
At that time, thinking that I had a lawful arrest against the force, I believe the force was justified.
Okay.
But looking at it now, realizing the mistake that I made and stuff, it should have.
Well, take that part out, whether it's lawful or not. If he's resisting arrest, was the force you used in your mind justified to gain his compliance?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Because I've done it. I've arrested people time and time before, and I've had them resist at some point. If it's just the minor, just passive resistance, like, man, just quit. You know, let's not add any charges.
You didn't pull his arms up just because. I mean,
No.
He was resisting.
No, I wasn't thinking, okay, I'm gonna hurt this guy because I get off on this.
That's what.
No.
I mean, you did that because he was resisting.
Yes, sir.
Is that right?
Yes, sir.
I
wasn't in there intentionally trying to hurt a guy, nothing like that. That's not.
You don't handcuff people and just jack their arms up.
No.
Unless they're resisting.
Yes, sir. But as soon as they stop, then I let go.
Okay.
As soon as there's compliance, you know, so if I start to pull up, hey man, stop, okay, I'll quit, then they go back down. And so holding them by the wrist, you know, with the cuffs at, I go back to just, you know, the escort, you know, over on the arm.
Yeah. All right. So arrest was wrong. Use of force was right.
Sir.
Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And you said you describe it as more than passive resistance?
Yes, sir. He was trying to pull away from us and get away, turn away, that kind of thing. Trying to pull his arms away from our hands and stuff.
Stiffening up.
Yes, sir.
Pretty stout guy. So if he stiffens up,
He recognized it pretty quick.
I've got to point this out. They say that I'm a pretty stout guy and it's hard to control, yet there's three of them and one of me, and all three of them are all bigger than me. But that's not the funny part. About 2 years before this incident, I was in a near fatal accident, and to this day, I'm still recovering from that accident. So the three of them were struggling to control a guy that was recovering from breaking his right collarbone, all of his right ribs, put a hole in his right pelvic bone the size of a baseball, 2 vertebrae in his lower back, left leg in 2 spots, and left ankle, ruptured intestines, liver, kidney, and the big one, thoracic aorta, and ripped his diaphragm from his right lung. My right lung to this day doesn't work either. I must be a badass.
okay.
One thing that kind of came to mind when this popped up, I'm not trying to bring up old stuff, but you remember whenever, probably about 5 years ago, and I was your sergeant on patrol, and you had a guy that kind of a similar thing happened over at those halfway house for people that are suffering from mental illness over behind Shannon, and he
Yes, sir. I remember this you're talking about.
we had him lawfully detained. You had an articulable detention, but he didn't want to give you his name. And during that shift, we kind of found out about it, and me and the lieutenant talked to you about it. And very similar, that you had a good detention, he just wasn't going to tell you, and you arrested him for failure to ID, and then we went back and unarrested him and told him to drop the charges, and you remember that. So that's one thing that's kind of stood out, is that yes, this is it's a commonly misunderstood law. It really is. You're not the only one, but you got to make sure that we're leaving a good impression for these younger guys like me here this year, that to brush up on that. So we're not big in you. We're not perfect, but it did stick out. If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, this is not a for sure thing. Okay, I don't want you to think it is. It's just a hypothetical. And a hypothetical, if you were to get less days than what the chiefs would come to the conclusion of what you needed, if you got less days, if that happens, would you be willing to write a short class or a essay or a prepared statement and give it to different shifts as a way to have fewer days off, if that was, and this is all hypothetical?
I wouldn't mind doing a class. 'Cause, I mean, they need to know, these younger guys, just because I'm a senior officer doesn't mean I don't make mistakes.
It's just
I don't mind trying to teach them something to learn. Hey,
Are you an FTO?
just as a thought. I mean, like I said, the main purpose of this is not to get people suspended or fired or anything. The main purpose is to provide a better, higher quality of service to our public. And I don't know, I just feel like this might be something that everybody could mutually benefit from too, if you're willing to do that. And again, that's completely up. It's a little bit outside the norms of what we normally do, but it'll be up to the chiefs eventually.
I would rather, to be perfectly honest with you, Sarge, I would rather, if I had to teach something, I would feel better doing it that way than trying to write something. Because to me, I can talk better than I can put something on paper.
It would probably need to be kind of both. I mean,
Right.
Something didn't have to be like an essay necessarily.
Right.
Just here's the law, here's what it is. We don't explain it.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, that's not a big deal. I wouldn't have a problem with that.
Well, I'm just going to make a suggestion, Raymond, is
Like I said, the main purpose of this is not to get people suspended or fired or anything. The main purpose is to provide a better, higher quality of service to our public. And I don't know, I just feel like this might be something that everybody could mutually benefit from too, if you're willing to do that. And again, that's completely up. It's a little bit outside the norms of what we normally do, but it'll be up to the chiefs eventually.
I would rather, to be perfectly honest with you, Sarge, I would rather, if I had to teach something, I would feel better doing it that way than trying to write something. Because to me, I can talk better than I can put something on paper.
He was explaining when the officer maybe were trying to talk to him, try and keep it friendly, keep it painless, I guess. Try and make it get in front of him, not trying to do anything. Trying to take him.
It would probably need to be kind of both. I mean,
Right.
Something didn't have to be like an essay necessarily.
Right.
Just here's the law, here's what it is. We don't explain it.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, that's not a big deal. I wouldn't have a problem with that.
well, I'm just going to make a suggestion, Raymond, is